The question that's being asked as far as the Zee-Sony merger is concerned is that has the deadline for completing the deal been extended or will it be extended? Because bear in mind, the 21st of December was the deadline to complete this mega $10 billion deal, and now we understand Zee and Sony have entered into discussions to push this deadline further by another 30 days. Isn't that, Kartik?
That's what we are hearing, Krishna. Apparently, the regulatory filing has also been made by Zee. I'm yet to get a look at the copy of that regulatory filing. Media reports are suggesting that finally Sony has complied. Sony has, after dilly-dallying for not more than 3-4 days, 17 December, remember, is when Zee had actually sought that extension of the deadline, which expires on December 21st, which is today. But thereafter, Sony wanted to first look at the new amendment to the contract, wanted to look at what Zee is offering, etc. And it seems now that in good faith, as it is being quoted in the media, Sony has complied and wants to extend the deadline by another 30 days. Now remember, this issue of course has been going on for almost 2 years, in fact a little over 2 years now. December 2021 is when the merger was actually sealed in thought, but sealing on paper is still likely to come in another 30 days, hopefully.
Hopefully. There's still no confirmation on that. But what we do understand is that already more than 300 crore rupees have been spent in merger-related expenses so far already. And the second thing is that it's been running into one issue of the other. The latest being who's going to helm this new merged entity. Will it be Mr. Punit Goenka, the way Zee wants it, because of all the issues that Mr. Punit Goenka has been having? And that's the reason why Sony doesn't want to give in.
So Mr. Punit Goenka has also run into regulatory hurdles, of course, in a very, very different case, a very separate case with the Zee promoters per se, and some of the loans that they had given and some of the book auditing that they had not kept very, very sacrosanct. But SEBI had actually come out with an order saying that Punit Goenka cannot and should not be allowed to take a management position in any listed entity. The Securities Appellate Tribunal quashed that SEBI order. Right. But if Punit Goenka was to take up that opportunity of the merger going through without him sitting on the head of the table, he would not have waited this long for the SEBI and the SAT clearance to come through. He would have given up that aspiration earlier and allowed for NP Singh, the current head of Sony India, to be at the helm of the Zee-Sony combine. But the fact that everybody, both the parties, have continued this long, tided over all those hurdles, I think Punit Goenka is definitely going to want to stay on the top of this merged entity. And now that there is no regulatory hurdle also for him to take that position, he's unlikely to back down. And right now, as we stand, this $10 billion deal is going to make Zee-Sony arguably the most enticing, the largest entertainment network in India. 70 broadcast channels, 2 large OTT platforms, Sony Live and ZEE5. We are talking about a big deal, which not just 300 crores by way of cash. There has been a time and management time invested for 2 years. I think either of the two parties not wanting to see it through to its logical conclusion at this stage, after investing 2 years, is going to be foolhardy. I think that 30-day extension minimum will come through, and we should see a more likely conclusion heading towards a merged entity happening in India.
Talking about conclusions, Sony has been talking about some closing conditions that Zee has to match up with or to finally seal the deal and get the new merged entity going. We don't know what those closing conditions are. We're only talking about the fact that this deadline of December 21st could be extended by another 30 days. There is reports of regulatory filing. You were talking about the two platforms, Sony Live and ZEE5 getting together. What is happening in the OTT space? Just as a side note, Kartik, because you have Reliance Disney deal happening, which means that you don't know if you're going to have a separate Jio app and a Disney Hotstar app. We don't know if going forward will you have a separate ZEE5 app or a Sony Live app. What do you think is going to happen going forward? Do you think that these brands are so strong that even if the entities merge, these two apps will continue to exist as two separate?
I would believe so, and I would hope for that as well, Krishna. And what really happens is anytime you have a demerged entity, here we're talking about a merger, why do companies demerge? Companies demerge because they can extract more value, unlock more value from each of those separate entities. I think it's not going to make sense for them to have one unified brand. Merge your libraries, do your subscription bundles in a way that if you subscribe to Z5, you will have to pay a much smaller delta to also get Sony Live, or vice versa. Bundle your applications, bundle your platforms, even when it comes to DTH transmission, broadcast transmission. But it'll not be logical, I would believe, to merge these entities and create just one application.
Okay. It's all about the content libraries that they have as well. Such huge content libraries, difficult to merge them into one app. They can probably come up with a double deal. If you get a Sony subscription, you get a Z subscription or something like that. But we'll have to wait and watch. We're all sitting here and crystal ball gazing.